The actual reason these actors quit MASH. People loved the show MASH because it mixed comedy and drama. But things weren't always going well behind the scenes. Some of the main actors, who looked like they would be on the program forever, unexpectedly quit. What made them leave a show that was doing so well? Today, we'll find out the real reasons they left and how those choices altered their careers and the show itself. Get ready to hear the untold stories of the performers who left MASH and why they did it. MASH. MASH was a comedy drama show that ran from 1972 to 1983 and was appreciated by many. It takes place during the Korean War and chronicles the lives of the people who work in the 4077th Mobile Army Surgical Hospital. These physicians, nurses, and support workers work hard to help injured soldiers get better. The show's unique combination of funny and serious moments kept people interested, making it a classic that will never go out of style. Alan Alda plays Captain Benjamin Hawkeye Pierce, the primary character in MASH. Hawkeye is a skilled surgeon who has a great sense of humor. Captain Trapper, John McIntyre, Major Margaret Hotlips, Houlihan, and Major Frank Burns are among important characters. Corporal Radar O'Reilly, Lieutenant Colonel Henry Blake, and later Colonel Sherman T. Potter are also in the program. The first season shows the characters and what they go through every day in a conflict zone. The tone is a mix of funny and serious, with the doctors often employing humor to deal with the tragedies of war. There are always medical emergencies, emotional problems, and funny moments in each episode. The characters get more complexity in the second season. Hawkeye and Trapper keep playing tricks and going against the rules. Major Burns and Major Houlihan often endeavor to keep order in the military, making things tense. The show mixes funny parts with the sad truth about war. MASH starts to deal with more serious issues in its third season. Episodes talk about things like the moral issues of war, the effects of violence, and the personal cost of war. There is a surprise twist at the end of the season. When Lieutenant Colonel Henry Blake's plane is shot down, he dies. This shows how unpredictable war is. There are new things happening in the fourth season. Trapper goes away, and Captain B.J. Honeycutt joins the team. Colonel Potter takes over as the commanding officer from Blake. Potter is an experienced and intelligent leader who rapidly earns the respect of the staff. This season is on how the characters deal with these changes while still doing their jobs. Major Charles Emerson Winchester III becomes a new surgeon in the fifth season. He is good at what he does, but he is also full of himself, which changes the group's dynamics. The show keeps mixing funny and serious themes as it looks at the characters' personal and professional life. The sixth, seventh, and eighth seasons keep this balance. The characters have to deal with new problems and get closer. Episodes go into their pasts and personal problems. The war's effect on their mental health is a common issue. The show also shows how silly and contradictory military life can be. In seasons 9 and 10, the characters start to think more deeply about things. They begin to ponder about what life will be like after the war. The tone of the show gets worse, which shows how hard it is to live in a combat zone for years. People's relationships get stronger, and they have times of self-reflection and growth. The series ends with the 11th and final season. The conflict is almost over, and the characters are getting ready to go home. The last episode, Goodbye, Farewell, and Amen, is a 2.5-hour special. It illustrates the end of the Korean War and the staff of the 4077th saying goodbye. Each character's leaving is sad, which shows how close they have become. People appreciated MASH for its script, performances, and ability to talk about serious topics in a funny way. The show earned a lot of prizes and is still a classic. People remember it for its unique mix of comedy and drama and its deep look at the human side of conflict. MASH did something amazing. It was of its time, yet it will always be important. Many Americans found it ludicrous to bring people back to life only to send them back into fight, especially since the show started during the Vietnam War. MASH has stood the test of time and is still loved by new generations of fans. Even though the show was popular at the time, some stars quit for different reasons. McLean Stevenson was born Edgar McLean Stevenson Jr. on November 14, 1927, in Normal, Illinois. Stevenson came from a family with a long history in politics and medicine, but he chose his own path. His cousin, Adlai Stevenson too, campaigned for president, and his father was a heart doctor. McLean's early years were full with strong academic influences and a push for high-status jobs, but he had other goals. Stevenson went to Lake Forest Academy for high school. He served in the United States Navy for a short time, which was in line with his family's heritage of serving the public. But he was really interested in something else. After serving in the military, he went to Northwestern University and got a degree in theater arts. He joined the Phi Gamma Delta fraternity when he was in college, and this relationship would help him in his early career. Stevenson had a degree in theater, but his journey to acting was not easy. He worked in a lot of different fields, like as selling insurance and being a press secretary for his cousin Adlai's presidential campaign. Even though these professions had nothing to do with acting, they helped him learn a lot of different things and see things from a different point of view that he would later apply to his performances. McLean Stevenson started his career in show industry as a radio host in Dallas. People soon liked him because of his soft voice and charming nature. But it was his writing that originally got him noticed across the country. He came to New York City in the early 1960s and started writing for The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson. This job was a big break for me, putting him in touch with powerful people in the TV business. Stevenson's move to acting was slow. His cousin told him to take acting more seriously since she saw that he had the ability to be a good actor. He signed up for the American Musical and Dramatic Academy in 1961. This move was very important since it gave him formal training and a strong base in acting. He made his acting debut in The Musician and then started doing advertisements on TV, slowly adding to his portfolio. In 1972, McLean Stevenson got the role that would define his career, Lieutenant Colonel Henry Blake on the TV drama MASH. People really connected with Stevenson's portrayal of Henry Blake, the laid-back and slightly clumsy commanding officer. The character's humor and kindness made the hard reality of the story feel more real. MASH immediately rose to the top of the TV ratings. Stevenson's performance was so good that he won a Golden Globe Award for Best Supporting Actor in 1974. Fans and critics liked his role as Henry Blake, which made him a household figure. Stevenson left MASH after the third season in 1975, even though the program was doing well and he was well known. There were many reasons why he left. Stevenson mostly thought that his persona wasn't being used enough. He thought he could do more and desired parts that would let him show off his skills better. He was also upset that more and more attention was being paid to the characters performed by Alan Alda and Loretta Swit. Stevenson wanted to discover chances to be the main star instead than being one of many actors. Stevenson's departure from MASH was both dramatic and unforgettable. Henry Blake, the character he played, was released from the army in the last episode of the third season and ready to go home. The episode closed with the terrible news that Henry Blake's jet had been shot down and he had perished. This unexpected and sad turn was one of the most emotional moments in TV history. It showed how awful war really is, even though the show was funny. It was a big deal to kill off Henry Blake's character. At the time, it was unusual for TV shows to talk with the deadly effects of war so explicitly. The series and its fans were affected by Stevenson's departure. After leaving MASH, McLean Stevenson tried to make the most of his new celebrity. He was in a lot of TV series, expecting to have the same success again. His first job was on The McLean Stevenson Show in 1976, where he played Mac Ferguson. The show didn't connect with viewers, even though there were big hopes for it. It was terminated after one season. Stevenson kept going after starring roles, even though he was turned down. He was on the spin-off show Hello Larry in 1979. It was based on the hit show Different Strokes. Stevenson played Larry Alder, a single father who hosted a radio discussion program. Sadly, Hello Larry didn't go as well as MASH and was cancelled after 2 seasons. Stevenson acted in a number of TV shows and movies during the late 1970s and 1980s. He was a guest star on shows including The Love Boat and The Golden Girls, and in 1978 he starred in the sci-fi comedy movie The Cat from Outer Space. None of these ventures, no matter how hard he tried, got as much praise or fame as MASH. Even though his latter projects weren't as successful, McLean Stevenson was still a well-known face on TV. He was a regular on the game program Match Game and kept appearing as a guest star on different shows. He was a hit on both talk shows and game shows because he was quick-witted and charming. Stevenson's personal life has its ups and downs. He had 3 kids and married 3 times. He was married to Polly Ann Gordon from 1957 to 1960. In 1969, he married Louise Herbert, but they got divorced in 1971. In 1980, he married Ginny Fosdick for the third and last time. They stayed together till he died. McLean Stevenson died of a heart attack on February 15, 1996, when he was 68 years old. The entertainment business lost a lot when he died. Stevenson is best known for playing Henry Blake, a figure who made a big impact on television history. He thought about his choice to quit MASH. Stevenson said that it might not have been the best thing for his career. He subsequently said, "I was wrong to think that people liked McLean Stevenson when they really liked Henry Blake. If you attend to the McLean Stevenson show, no one cares about McLean Stevenson." After years of trying to get the same kind of success he achieved on MASH, he finally realized this. Stevenson's work on TV was quite important, even if he had a lot of problems after MASH. His performance of Henry Blake added warmth, humor, and humanity to the show. His departure was one of the most unforgettable moments in TV history. Stevenson's career is a good example of how complicated and unpredictable the entertainment business can be. Wayne Rogers, who played trapper John McIntyre. On April 7, 1933, in Birmingham, Alabama, William Wayne McMillan Rogers III was born. Rogers came from a humble background, and his early life was defined by his love of learning and many other things. He went to Ramsey High School, where his schoolwork and activities outside of school started to define his destiny. Rogers went to Princeton University after high school. It is one of the Ivy League colleges, and he graduated with a degree in history in 1954. Rogers was a member of the Triangle Club while he was at Princeton, a group of actors that put up musical comedies. This encounter probably made him interested in performing, but he didn't pursue it right away. After he graduated, Rogers joined the U.S. Navy. Rogers' tenure in the Navy was important since he was a navigator on the USS Denebola, a storage ship. He started to get more interested in performing while he was in the military. This time also showed that he could handle strict and regimented settings, which would help him later in his acting career. After finishing his duty, Rogers made the decision to take acting seriously. He went to the Playhouse School of the Theater in New York City, where he learned from famous acting coach Sanford Meisner. This training gave him a strong base for his acting skills. But the first several years of his career were hard. Rogers did a lot of different occupations. To pay the bills as he auditioned for roles, he worked as a waiter, a cab driver, and a lifeguard. Roger had modest parts in TV shows and movies early in his career. He first appeared on screen in the 1959 TV show Search for Tomorrow and then in the movie Odds Against Tomorrow the following year. Even though he had these early parts, his career didn't take off right away. He kept getting modest roles in different TV shows and movies in the early 1960s. Wayne Rogers got his big break in 1972 when he was cast as Captain Trapper John McIntyre in the TV show MASH. Rogers played a thoracic surgeon who was the best friend and counterpart to the show's main character, Captain Benjamin Hawkeye Pierce, who was played by Alan Alda. MASH was a comedy and a drama, and it rapidly became quite popular. People and critics both liked Rogers' performance as Trapper John. People liked his persona because he was charming, funny, and had a strong sense of right and wrong. The connection between Rogers and Alda was a big part of why the show was so popular. The two of them together provided humor and complexity to the show, which made it a classic. Wayne Rogers left MASH after its third season in 1975, even though the show was doing well. The main reason he left was because of artistic differences. Rogers thought that Alda's Hawkeye was taking over his role. He thought that Trapper John was becoming less of a main character and more of a sidekick, which was not what he desired for his job. Rogers also didn't like how Trapper John's character didn't grow. He wanted the stories to be more interesting and for his character to be on the same level as Alda's, but the producers wouldn't let him make these adjustments. In the end, this conflict made him decide to leave the show. It was a big deal that he left, and fans of the show were sad to see him go. Wayne Rogers kept working in movies and TV after he left MASH. He was in a number of TV episodes, such as House Calls, where he played Dr. Charlie Michaels. He was nominated for a Golden Globe for this portrayal, which showed how versatile he is as an actor. Rogers also played parts in City of Angels and guest spots on a number of other movies and TV shows. He played civil rights leader Morris Dees in the TV movie Ghosts of Mississippi, which was a big part of his career. This role showed that Rogers could handle more serious and tragic roles, which made his reputation as a skilled actor even stronger. Wayne Rogers was a successful businessman and investor as well as an actor. He became interested in finance while working on MASH. And he finally ran his own investment portfolio. Rogers became noted for his financial skills and was given the nickname The Wizard for his knowledge. He was a regular financial commentator on the Fox News Channel show Cashin, where he talked about investing and the stock market. Rogers did well in the business sphere, which showed that he was smart and good at many things. Wayne Rogers had a full and interesting personal life, just like his work life. He got married twice. In 1960, he married actress Mitzi McWhorter for the first time. They had a son named William Rogers IV and a daughter named Laura Rogers. They officially divorced in 1983, but they had been living apart for a few years before that. Rogers married Amy Hirsch in 1988. This marriage lasted till he died. People also said that Rogers had a kid named Luigi Calabrese with actress Melinda Nod. Wayne Rogers died on December 31, 2015, because of problems that came up because of illness. He was 82 years old. His death brought to a close a spectacular career that lasted more than 50 years. Rogers left behind a legacy of great performances and is known as a smart businessman and a fine actor. Larry Linville played Major Frank Burns. Larry Linville was born on September 29, 1939, in Ojai, California. He is best known for playing Major Frank Burns on the famous TV show MASH. Linville went to El Camino High School in Sacramento, California, where he grew up. In his early years, it looked like he might have a bright future in acting, but it wasn't until later that he really fell in love with it. He went to the University of Colorado after high school and started studying aeronautical engineering. But Linville's interests quickly changed to the theatrical arts, which is why he applied to the famous Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, RADA, in London. He was happy to learn that he had been accepted and was one of only 3 Americans to get a scholarship. Linville improved his acting skills at RADA by taking a lot of classical training classes. This base would be very important for his future career. Linville went back to the United States after finishing his studies. He started his professional career on stage. Linville's early career included a number of stage shows and guest spots on TV shows. Robert Hufford Porterfield, the creator of the Barter Theater in Abingdon, Virginia, was in charge of his performances there. Linville was able to improve his skills and get a lot of stage experience from this. Linville began to get noticed on TV in the late 1960s and early 1970s. He was on a lot of popular shows at the time, like Bonanza, The FBI, and Room 222. These parts helped Linville become known as a flexible actor who could play many different types of characters. His major break came in 1972, when he got the part of Major Frank Burns in the TV show MASH. Larry Linville's performance as Major Frank Burns on MASH was a big component of the show's success. Frank Burns was a clumsy, egotistical, and slightly paranoid surgeon who was the opposite of the major characters, Hawkeye Pierce and Trapper John McIntyre, and subsequently, B.J. Honeycutt. Linville's acting brought a unique blend of humor and suspense to the play, making Frank Burns a character that people will remember. Frank Burns was regularly the butt of his co-workers' practical jokes and insults. Linville's ability to highlight Frank's flaws and fears made him a great character on the show. Linville gave Frank Burns more depth by showing his weaknesses and adding dimensions to his character, even though his character had shortcomings. Even though MASH was a big hit and Larry Linville was well liked on the program, he chose to depart after the 5th season in 1977. There were a number of reasons why he left. Linville thought his role had become too one-dimensional, which was a big factor. Frank Burns was mostly utilized to make people laugh, and he was typically shown in a bad light. Linville wants to look into other jobs and chances. That would let him show off how versatile he is as an actor. Linville thought it was vital for his progress as an actor to leave a hit show like MASH. He said he wanted to play more varied and difficult parts instead of being typecast as the fumbling surgeon. This choice changed the course of his career and opened up new opportunities. Linville kept working in TV and movies after he left MASH. Linville was always a renowned character actor, even if he never reached the same degree of fame as Major Burns. He was on sitcoms including The Love Boat, Fantasy Island, and Murder, She Wrote. Linville was able to show off his range and show that he was more than simply Frank Burns in these roles. Linville was in movies like School Spirit and Earth Girls Are Easy, in addition to his work on TV. Even though these movies weren't as popular as MASH, they gave Linville a chance to try out new genres and characters. Linville kept working and stayed dedicated to his art, even though it was hard for him to get typecast. Larry Linville had a lot of marriages in his personal life. He married Kate Gear initially and had a daughter named Kelly with her. Later, he married Vanna Tribby, Melissa Gallant, Susan Hagen, and Deborah Gaiden. Linville's marriages showed how complicated and occasionally troubled his personal life was. Larry Linville's impact, especially his portrayal as Major Frank Burns, is still a significant part of TV history. One of the best things about him as an actor is that he can bring to life a character who is terribly flawed and frequently unlikable while yet being funny. Linville's work on MASH has stood the test of time. People remember him as one of the most important people who helped the show succeed. Linville left MASH to avoid being typecast, but his portrayal of Frank Burns is still praised. Frank Burns was a great character because he brought something new to the show and had great comedic timing. He was able to blend laughter with sadness. Linville's leaving MASH made the show less interesting. People loved to loathe Frank Burns. And the way he interacted with the other characters was a big part of what made the show work. After Linville left, David Ogden Stiers played Major Charles Winchester, a new role. Winchester added a fresh kind of intensity to the show, but Frank Burns was missed. Linville left MASH because he wanted to evolve as an artist and be true to his profession. He could have kept playing Frank Burns and been happy with the job security that came with it. But he decided to take a chance and look for other chances. Linville's choice shows that he is dedicated to his work and prepared to push himself as an actor. Linville kept working in TV and movies in his later years, but his health problems got worse and worse. Even though his health was getting worse, he stayed dedicated to his job and kept taking on roles until he couldn't work anymore. Linville's fight against cancer was a hard time. But he dealt with it with the same dedication that had always been a part of his career. Larry Linville died on April 10, 2000, from complications from pneumonia that he had after having surgery for cancer. He was 60 years old. His death was a big loss for the entertainment industry, and his co-workers and admirers lamented the loss of a great and dedicated performer. Corporal Walter Radar O'Reilly is played by Gary Berghoff. Gary Rich Berghoff was born in Bristol, Connecticut on May 24, 1943. Rodney and Berghoff, his parents, gave him a loving home that helped him develop his early love of the arts. Gary has always been very interested in nature and animals since he was a child. He grew up in Forestville, where he played in the brooks and meadows, which helped him connect with nature. And Berghoff's mother was a dancer in a small theater, writer of scripts, poems, and songs, as well as choreographer. She showed him the world of the performing arts. Gary became interested in stage actors, singers, and musicians when he went with her to rehearsals. He was determined to follow his dreams, even though he was born with a club foot and had multiple malformed fingers on his left hand. He learned how to play jazz drums and tap dance, and he did it all while dealing with his physical problems with strength and determination. The Berghoff family moved to Delavan, Wisconsin, when he was in his second year of high school. Gary finished high school at Delavan Darien in 1962. At the time, he was already playing drums in Milwaukee nightclubs with the Bud Wilbur Orchestra. It was clear that he was talented and that he would not give up on his goal of success. Berghoff traveled to New York City after high school to follow his aspirations. He went to HB Studio, where he learned from famous masters including Sanford Meisner, James Tuttle, and Charles Nelson Riley. He worked at Saks Fifth Avenue and played jazz with his band, the We Three, to make ends meet. Berghoff's early career was defined by his work in a number of theater shows. He acted in well-known plays as Finian's Rainbow, Babes in Arms, Bells Are Ringing, The Sound of Music, Tea and Sympathy, and Look Homeward, Angel. He made it big on March 7, 1967, when he played Charlie Brown in the musical comedy You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. The production was a huge hit, with over 1,500 performances in New York and Los Angeles. It also made Berghoff known as a great performer. Berghoff's life changed in 1970 when filmmaker Robert Altman saw him as Charlie Brown. Altman asked him to do a screen test for his next movie, MASH. Berghoff got the role of Corporal Walter Eugene Radar O'Reilly, which would define his career. Larry Gelbart in 20th Century Fox turned MASH into a TV show after the movie did well. The show started on CBS in 1972, and Berghoff was the only actor from the original movie who was asked to play the same part again. Radar O'Reilly, the innocent and smart business clerk, suddenly became one of TV's most popular characters. Fans loved Berghoff's portrayal of Radar because it was charming and relatable. Even though MASH was a hit and people loved it, Berghoff had problems in his personal and professional life. His family life suffered because of the long hours he had to work. In 1971, he married Janet Gale, and their daughter Gina was born in 1975. But the long hours on set and the stress of being famous put a strain on his marriage. When he quit MASH in 1979, his marriage had already ended in divorce. Berghoff and his 4-year-old daughter went back to the house where he grew up to find peace and a new beginning. Berghoff's leaving MASH was a big deal in the history of television. He left the show after the 7th season because he was tired of it and wanted to spend more time with his family. Because the series had a demanding shooting schedule, it was hard for him to be there for his kids. Berghoff too thought he had done everything he could with his persona and wanted to try something new. He made the choice because he needed to achieve balance and happiness outside of the stress of a very successful TV show. The producers took care of his leave because he didn't take his decision lightly. Radar got a poignant goodbye in his last show. After his uncle died, he decided to go back home and handle the family farm, giving his character's journey a satisfying ending. The last episode of the 7th season, called Goodbye Radar, was supposed to be Radar's last episode. But CBS asked Berghoff to come back for a 2-part farewell series, which gave fans a chance to say goodbye to the character they loved. Berghoff's emotional departure showed how important it was to him to balance his work and personal life. Berghoff worked in the entertainment industry after leaving MASH. He never got as famous as he did with Radar, though. He was in a number of TV shows, such as Fantasy Island, The Love Boat, and Tales of the Unexpected. He also participated in various game shows like Match Game, Tattletales, and Hollywood Squares. Despite his continuous presence on television, he struggled to find a part that resonated with fans as deeply as Radar O'Reilly had. Berghoff played Radar again in the MASH spin-offs after MASH and Walter in 1984. However, new shows did not attain the same success as the first series, and Berghoff eventually switched his concentration to other interests. He hosted the PBS show Pets, Part of the Family, because he loved nature and animals. In 1999, when he told viewers about his love of animals, Gary Berghoff's talents extended beyond acting. He was a great jazz drummer, and he kept getting better at it throughout his life. He also became a successful wildlife artist, using his love of nature to make his works. People liked his work, and he felt more fulfilled in his artistic activity. Berghoff was an inventor and lyricist in addition to being an artist. He was creative and smart in every part of his life, and he kept acting in regional theater, performing in shows all around the US and Canada. He toured 120 venues from 1999 to 2000, singing Neil Simon's Last of the Red Hot Lovers. Berghoff's autobiography, To MASH and Back, My Life in Poems and Songs, gave readers a close look at his life and work. The book, which was written in a unique way that mixed prose, poems, and songs, showed how complicated he was and how he dealt with the ups and downs of show business. Berghoff's personal life was full of both good and bad things. His first marriage, to Janet Gale, ended in 1979. He married Elizabeth Bostrom in 1985. They had 2 sons together, but their marriage was extremely hard. Berghoff's strong religious convictions drove them apart, and they got divorced in 2005. Elizabeth and their kids went to California, while Berghoff kept working on his spiritual path and personal progress. Even if things were hard, Berghoff's love for his family never wavered. His choice to leave MASH in the height of its popularity showed that he cared more about his personal goals than his professional ones. Many followers agreed with this option since they loved his bravery and honesty. Gary Berghoff's role as Radar O'Reilly is still an important part of TV history. Fans and reviewers still talk about what he did for MASH, and his work has had a lasting effect on the entertainment business. He chose to leave MASH. Stressed how important it is to find a balance between work and personal life, a message that still resonates with people today. Berghoff's journey from Forestville to MASH and beyond shows how dedicated he is to his work and his principles.